So it seems like, I mean, I'm just doing a little bit of analysis here. I'm not in all these races, but it seems like based on my kind of cursory analysis, the Democrats are really fucking up. So I want to know, like, what do you do and like, why do you reconcile this?
But did the Democrats lose or did the Republicans win? And
The
and it
Democrats
seems like
lost.
Republicans,
Democrats lost.
but it seems like Republicans win on fear, and it's much easier to scare people and act like everything bad's going to happen to you than to actually say, hey, I'm here to offer you something real. But the person over here is like, no, these immigrants are coming, these Black Lives Matter people are going to come burn your county down and burn your house down, and they're going to raise your taxes, and they're pedophiles and all this other stuff. It's easy to do that. So if the Democrats could do that, I'm sure they would, but like they're not trying to get that type of person. They're trying to get people with some goddamn sense. And like the Republicans are just going for the lowest common denominator half the time.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like, yes, you're right in that, but the fact that there is now this thing where we're going into the fact that, okay, the Republicans are going to play the fear card. Now Democrats are correcting and saying, okay, we can't allow the Republicans to play the fear card, so Democrats on the left, shut up about your policy ideas, your policy proposals. Your idea of abolishing ICE because immigration and customs enforcement is, I've said it before and I'll say it again, one of the single biggest stains in American history and contemporary American history for what we're doing on human rights uses, as far as human rights abuses go on the southern border. That is a complete disgrace, and we are doing that. So to say abolish ICE is not a crazy sort of like out there talking point when ICE has only existed since the year 2000, but it's going to, of course, and like to an extent that was proven wrong because abolish ICE was used as this like boogeyman, and the conservatives tried to say like, look, the liberals are against immigration and all that stuff. But now you have a situation where, I mean, Joe Biden won, even though he's part of the administration where, reasonably part of the Obama administration that expanded the law and the program. The left was able to expand a lot of their possibilities and a lot of attention towards that by having that thing. So whether the left gets power or not, the liberals and the center of the party are going to try to tell the left, hey, shut up about your abolish ICE, shut up about your defund the police stuff, because don't even allow people to have that kind of idea of imagination. Stay out of power. Continue to let us hire Goldman Sachs executives to be in the cabinet because that's all we can do with Mitch McConnell because, hey, they're going to use fear and we're Democrats. We're weak as shit. We can't win any kind of fights and we'll do anything the Republicans tell us to do because we're fucking submissive little assholes who won't even take money for it. Like, I guess we're kind of folding over in that excuse, but like, I will appreciate that AOC made the point, like several points, that you can't blame progressives for these losses. She noted that all the people who are running on Green New Deal, Medicare for All, those Dem incumbents won re-election. A lot of the ones like Cori Bush, you have Jamal Bowman, who are also now in the race running on these really progressive things. So you can't, this argument that's being made by people like John Kasich, who is actually on CNN today saying the left needs to just get off of the field that they lost the race.
Frankly, the Democrats have to make it clear to the far left that they almost cost him this election. Another thing, one Democrat told me at some point, if they'd have been more clear in rejecting the hard left, they would have appealed more to Americans who I believe essentially live in the middle. And that congresswoman from Virginia warned the Democrats, you want to talk about defunding the police, you'll have no support. And I think this is an opportunity for Biden to talk about the center right and the center left of this country and what can be achieved. Because we have enormous problems with debt, Social Security, Medicare, health care. Little steps, little steps.
This is something that we need to fight right now. We need to fight viciously right now. Because if we don't and we allow them to write the narrative of this election, then that's going to make it that much harder for the left to fight in a Biden administration. They said just vote for Biden and just settle for Biden. And once he gets elected, then you can fight. Okay, he's elected now. I'm fucking fighting.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying like those Democrats you're talking about, we're fighting against them too. So I don't care what they say. Anything that happens as far as like policy change happens on the ground. Everything that happened that changed this country significantly, from ending slavery and whatever, the Revolutionary War, ending slavery, having being considered a human, those fights start on the ground. So whatever else we're trying to fight for, if it being like a universal, like free tuition for colleges, or like which they have in Mexico, universal health care and different things that, we find important. What I'm saying is, like, I don't care what those centrist Democrats are talking about, or whoever. John Kasich is not even, he's a right wing weirdo, but like, I'm also fighting against them too. The fight is different because they don't have armed militias that believe in them and want to come out and commit crimes for them. So the fight is different, but I'm also fighting against them too. So I'm not I'm invested in that fight just as much as I'm in the fight against the right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you on that. It's just and you're absolutely right. We don't need to. Part of what we need to do on the left is not buy into these narratives too much and not allow them to win that. And that's kind of like we're in agreement on there. Just make sure you're both kind of like where I'm coming from on this is that you're armed with the information to show where you are. A really fast go over because it's hard to miss. Remember that Amy McGrath race? Remember that Amy McGrath race where it's like, okay, let's get rid of Mitch McConnell. If we unfinish this one race, we can get rid of Mitch McConnell. It was all those Pod Save America like weirdos who are literally just like non-player characters. They're all basically the same person. They are funneling all this money, millions and millions of dollars to this race in Kentucky. What happens? Bodied. Like she loses by what? 15 points? More than that?
At
like
least,
against Mitch McConnell. So where's all that money going to go? Is that going to go like for federal election reasons? It's not going to go like redistributed wealth rise. It's barely going to likely go into the Democratic National Convention to help other down ballot races where they could reallocate the funds to help the Democratic Party gain more power more equitably, because the Democratic Party seems to be a never-ending money hole. So like that's not going to help anywhere. Where's that money going to go? We don't know. At least we know where the Lincoln Project money is going to go, because the Lincoln Project, which Benjamin Dixon had a really good point about the Lincoln Project, how they spent like 60, 70 million dollars on ads and spending that basically did nothing in the race. Meanwhile, all the activists in Georgia that actually fought and did things to turn the election are probably short on rent right now. Meanwhile, the Lincoln Project is going to become, $67 million. And the Lincoln Project announced they're going to become a media and a podcast network. So they're just doing the Pod Save America thing right now. Like, congratulations, liberals. Congratulations. This is what your money's getting you. You just paid $67 million. So the Republican lights can be just as powerful as Pod Save America. Maybe, like, they can out-centrist each other and, like, eat each other and gash out each other's, like, necks and shit. I don't know. At least would kind of entertaining for me. But, like, I am so fucking tired of these grifters, yo.
Those people are like they can be out of here too. Like what I'm talking about. I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm talking way too much. I feel bad for Caesar sitting there with his hood on. Sean's like reading the Bible. like it's not gonna happen overnight. Like, we gotta get it to like nobody gives a fuck about the Lincoln Project. Like, they got like 10 listeners. Like, we can do that. That's on the ground. And like we already know, like, those people in those high places, like, they don't have the same interests as us. I don't expect them to. They're gonna be getting millions of dollars until the day they're not, and that's gonna be because of us changing people's minds. Amy McGrath is going to lose to Mitch McConnell because I'm sure in Kentucky, mostly white racist people vote. Like, I'm sure that's what the case is. Maybe they need a Stacey Abrams. We're not going to talk about that yet, but like maybe they need somebody like that to run around and say, hey, like, I don't know what my son and Tamika Mallory were doing down there when they were out there for Breonna Taylor. Like, maybe they could have done some of that too. Like, hey, like, it's really important that this demon, Mitch McConnell, whose hands are darker than mine, like, he needs to get out of here. So, like, there's a lot of work to do on the ground, is what I'm saying. And like, maybe I think, Dan, you just get more annoyed about those people than me, and it probably is because you worked in media, so it's like more like nerfing to you. But I'm on your side, Dan. Please stop yelling at me, please.
I see these people gain power, and it's annoying. But Les, I'll shut up now and give other space for thoughts.
Hey, Caesar.
I have a thought of Bam was saying how Obviously, where Republicans or Trump runs on fear and runs on all of that, and Dan was saying how the Democrats and stuff are always like cowering in fear and stuff. Is what would it look like if a left candidate runs on fear, like to fear of something? Like, how on earth does a leftist do that without just straight being a Maoist or something like wildly crazy of just like the corporations are going to kill us all. The proletariat must rise again. We must seize the means of production. We need to march up to the White House right now. We need to go and kill Steve Mnuchin right now. What is the fear thing that they could run on? Because there's not much you can do without just going absolutely radicalness, which I mean I'm slightly down for, but the other part is just kind of hilarious to see.
You put a battery in Antifa's back if you want to. They're gonna burn your house down too.
If you're a true leftist, you're armed to the teeth. So
they're gonna burn your house down too. Trust me.
I'm not gonna lie. That Sean speech was kind of well prepared. I'm a little suspicious now. Kind of really good speech there, Sean. You been working on that? Is that what you're writing down there? Well, they were going at it for 45 minutes.
Giving me batteries, I'll march up there myself.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see both things. Like, I understand what Dan's saying. Like, Dan's like, oh, like, I don't want people to take this approach as in like, hey, it's all good. Like, nice. Like, we did it. Let's all kick back, put our feet up. Woo! Like, it's definitely not that, because, the way that we're like that, the right works, it just seems like any opportunity to slip up, they like jump, dude. They jump. And like, there's like no mercy on like any kind of level. And it seems like people who, especially on the left, like have an approach where it's like, no, we don't just jump on anything that's like TMZ. Like, we're trying to get things to like, we're trying to pick people, not because they're, they're explosive or this and this. We're trying to pick people with actual ideals and values and plans that make sense. The funny counterpoint that the right likes to make is, what's Biden's plan? I'm like, okay, like your approach to come back at that is because you don't look things up. You don't do research. You like a candidate that goes out there and spews stuff, and then, okay, like, that's fun because he's like doing this like attack mode trolling. Like, that's fun. But a lot of people on the left like to actually look at like two candidates and be like, like, all right, well, they got this going on and they got this. And that's why, like, obviously we all get along so well. Like, I think we all have that approach when it comes to people, except for Sean. Sean just like burn it all down. Fuck it. But, but yeah, so I'll be honest with you. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said like I've looked into Lincoln Project. I know all about it. I really don't know much about it. I've heard about like a little faintly what it does, and it seems to me like the Lincoln Project. Yeah, 67 million went towards it. Of course, like it's almost like during this time it provided some help, and they exploited benefits of it. But I can't imagine it like having such sustainability over time. Like, it doesn't seem like something that picked up steam and we all kind of like, like we're like, oh, this is like the move. But maybe I'm just speaking biased because I haven't heard of it. I'm not in the move.
For context, I'll just explain for the audience too, because like the Lincoln Project, and I do apologize because sometimes you are so much in these bubbles that like you understand that only 5 or 10% of people do get this. But like the Lincoln Project is this group that was founded by former Republicans. Many of them worked in the Bush administration, etc. And they're like, we stand for true Republicans, and we are going to stand up against Donald Trump because he doesn't represent real America. And that basically meant that they were going to make really brutal, like smearing, scathing attack ads against Donald Trump and other like down ballot Democratic candidates who are going against Republicans, who those Republicans were major in support of Donald Trump. So the idea is you use this team of really wealthy, really well-connected former Republicans to make a bunch of attack, to make a bunch of attack ads to try to help Democrats, but basically making the Democrats indebted to you. So then they give you favors once they have power again. So you're solidifying some amount of Republican power. But what you're really doing is just like taking a bunch of money from like people who are fundraising things. Like, imagine the work that if liberals were really about their shit and they're about like, okay, there's nothing we can do with the electoral system. The Republicans have screwed everything. The Democrats are now going to move towards a local strategy of mutual aid, where we're going to do fundraising the same we do for Amy MacArthur, Lincoln Project, these dumb ads, to make sure that we can feed homeless people and make sure they have shelters during the winter because climate change is such a disaster. To make sure that there are food banks and COVID tests and all those different things that people need to make sure that there's some type of options or support for people who are doing rent strikes because the courts are opening up again for evictions to happen. Do something that helps people tangibly. Maybe something that helps like the poorest people get what, like $100, $200. Make it a month for COVID relief. Make it so there's more pressure against the conservative and the Republican Party to give some type of COVID relief monthly to people again, because $1,200 for 10 weeks or 20 weeks or 30 weeks is very clearly not enough. Like, there's stuff you can do with your power and your leverage that even if you don't have power, you claim to not have that much power or leverage. There's stuff you can try to do or figure out to do, but it's like not happening in the way that it needs to be.
Well, that's some good ideas. You hit them up, tell them about it.
Yeah, anyone at the Democratic Party, DM me, put me right in the DM. Anyways,